Shrimp cocktail's delicious, shrimp salad's delicious, but this Charleston, South Carolina-inspired pickled shrimp recipe elevates and combines the two of them to create mind-blowing, complex bites. If you prefer bland foods without flavor, go ahead and skip this video because this liquid I'm pouring onto the shrimp right now will have your taste buds singing. This recipe starts with 2 pounds of wild-caught fresh North Carolina shrimp, 1 red onion, a lemon, 1 cup of apple cider vinegar, our pickling seasonings, some garlic, a bunch of fresh dill, a cup of extra virgin olive oil, some capers, and some Dijon mustard, Worcestershire, and hot sauce. It's like injecting flavor steroids into shrimp cocktail. Here I've got 4 cups of cold water and 2 teaspoons of salt. A critical technique for making successful shrimp cocktail or shrimp salad is to gently poach the shrimp starting with cold water. As a believer in the slow foods movement, I always opt for minimally processed ingredients and will use fresh garlic instead of the processed garlic, which has become a popular but repulsive shortcut these days. The best way to get those pesky skins off is to smash the cloves with the back of your knife. I want to quickly build the flavors of our pickling liquid while the shrimp are cooking, so I'm turning to the microwave to speed things up. It's one of my favorite and very underutilized kitchen appliances. Add the garlic and seasonings to the cup of apple cider vinegar. In my seasonings I've got 3 bay leaves, a 1/4 cup of sugar, a teaspoon of allspice, a teaspoon of coriander seeds, 1/2 teaspoon of crushed red pepper, and nuke this for a couple minutes. While the pickling liquid is microwaving, I want you to check the temperature on the water of the shrimp every couple minutes. We're going to stop cooking the shrimp and shock them in an ice bath when the water temperature reaches 170 degrees Fahrenheit. It should take 5 to 8 minutes or so. It's also time to roughly chop the bunch of dill along with a couple spoonfuls of capers. Charleston, South Carolina is an incredible food town with some of the best seafood restaurants you'll find anywhere in this country. It has also been one of my favorite vacation spots for as long as I can remember, and many top chefs have busted their chops in Charleston. Rodney Scott's my current favorite, and Sean Brock, although now rooted in Nashville, became a legend in Charleston and rose to stardom by putting Husk on the global culinary map. But as everyone knows, it hasn't always been all sunshine and rainbows down on bustling King Street. Key parts of Charleston's culinary history came from a very tragic time period. As one of the oldest port towns in the United States, its economy prospered off the backs of enslaved people. It's estimated that of approximately 500,000 human beings forced into slavery in the United States, over half of them were sold like cattle in Charleston, South Carolina. The shrimp are getting closer to that 170 mark, so start checking the temperature more frequently at this point. After you whisk the pickling mixture and dissolve the sugar, it's time to inject our next round of flavor steroids into the liquid by adding the freshly chopped dill and capers, a large spoonful of Dijon mustard, a tablespoon of Worcestershire, and a dash of hot sauce. Charleston, South Carolina is one of the oldest port towns in the United States, but its economy prospered off the back of the most evil era we have ever seen in our nation's young life. It's estimated that of the approximately 500,000 human beings forced into slavery in the United States, half of them were sold like cattle in Charleston. Shrimp have virtually zero fat in them and are loaded with protein, so I eat them all the time. But you don't want to overcook them because they'll get rubbery and tough. It's not like you're cooking sausage or a chicken wing, which are almost impossible to overcook because of their high fat content. The temperature on these shrimp are a little higher than I'd like, and I usually shock them with the ice bath as soon as it hits 170, so I was probably about 30 seconds too late. But the ice bath will stop the cooking process and still leave these shrimp juicy, plump, and tender. A bit of a perfectionist moment here, but with the shrimp, it's important not to overcook them. While the shrimp are taking their cold plunge to reduce their inflammation and supposedly improve their mental health, our last bit of prep includes thinly slicing a red onion and cutting the lemon into wedges. Much of the famous low-country cuisine we all know and love have roots in West African culture. Rice was introduced and cultivated in this country for the first time because of the knowledge transfer from West African slaves. All kinds of crustaceans, I'm talking lobsters, shrimp, crawfish, and crabs, are staples of West African coastal cuisine, and slave cooks introduced many of these dishes to their evil white masters. You want to let the shrimp and the pickling liquid cool down. These shrimp are perfectly cooked and would be amazing on their own right now with cocktail sauce, but I'm all about the flavor steroids, so we're going to cover the shrimp in our sliced onions and lemon wedges, and then add the pickling liquid on top. Next, I want you to throw it in the refrigerator for at least 3 hours, but it's also fine to leave overnight so you can make this dish ahead of time. I served these shrimp as a heavy hors d'oeuvre over the most recent holiday season, and they were a huge hit. In case you couldn't tell, I'm a big food history buff, and I always like to know and honor the origins and traditions of the food I cook. So next time you're enjoying these pickled shrimp, shrimp and grits, or really any type of southern food, make sure to pause and think about how they came about and why you're eating them. As always, I believe if you embrace slow foods, discover new flavors, and cook with love for those you love most in this world, you can change your life.